We actually know how to do it. We work harder. We work overtime. We work weekends. We stress people out. So when we look at the big picture, is there a problem or not? When change comes, we manage it. True? We just do it. And this is really what it looks like. Crunch testing time, lower quality. We don't have time, we have to launch. Just, we'll release emergency patches afterwards. All those kind of things. That's what really happens. Why? Because we've figured out how to fit the square peg in a round hole. And we don't look at this stuff, all the damage and inefficiencies that come out of it. We are just glad that it fit. And so the next project around, we don't look for the square peg or the round hole. We just do it again. And some of us actually get a high off of it.
And we're successful.
And we do it.
Yeah.
So the challenge is not about the empirical process or defined process, but it really is about the management approach to either or. And this is where it's substantially different. This is really where the rubber hits the road here, because the management approach for a defined process is coordination and control. The management approach for an empirical process is not coordination and control. Actually, you can't do that. It is inspect and adapt. It is something totally different. Think of this. Think of autonomous vehicles for a minute. All right? The Google car. You guys heard of the Google car? Okay. Does it manage using inspect and adapt or coordination and control? 6,000 inspect and adapts per minute. That's how it can run. However, autonomous vehicles aren't new. If you think of a monorail in an airport, is that coordination and control or inspect and adapt? Which one? Coordination and control. Why? They're both autonomous vehicles. Why did I use a different approach? There's a rail. It's a controlled environment. There's 3 trains. I can control when each one goes. I just need a circuit cut or something if something falls in front of it, but that's really it. That's the only inspect and adapt I need. But everything else is programmed, right? So the key here is if you can control everything, then of course coordination and control makes total sense. But if you can't, and I want you to really think about that, what can you control in knowledge work? If someone writes this article, if your kid writes an article, and as they're reading it to you, they find a better way to write something, do you stop them and say, why didn't you get that right the first time? Couldn't you control yourself to get it right the first time? Could you do that? Does that even make any sense? Why? This is supposed to be an interactive session. I hope you guys understand that. It's the lobster roll. It's creative work. It's creative work. So can you control creative work? Be creative right now. Do it. You can't control creative work. Can you control if a developer has a good mood or a bad mood and writes sloppy code or good code? We try to, but can you? Can you control if a tester actually finds the bug or not? Can you control if the customer changes their mind or not? We try to. It's called change control boards. But can you? Can you control if the government will change standards tomorrow to make our lives better or worse, whatever your view is? You can't. You can't control any of these. So what do? You can try to keep coordinating and controlling, or you can move into the inspect and adapt, which is the world we'll be talking about. And just to think about this, one more example here. Really think about your GPS. Did anyone put the address here on GPS coming? All right. So it gave you an estimated time of arrival. But then it changed its mind. And it changed the estimated time of arrival. Why? I mean, it's a very sophisticated algorithm to come up. It's much sophisticated than how we come up with estimates for projects, right? So it actually sophisticatedly calculated what this estimated time of arrival is, but why did it change? Why didn't it control the traffic? Why didn't it control you? Because it can't. Because it can't. So it inspected and adapted. That's all it can do. Make sense? So to wrap this up, really, again, desired end state, work, it's this. It's that constant inspect and adapt, that as the work is changing constantly, also the way we work is inspecting and adapting as well. Because we are dealing with humans. Back to Marcia's point earlier, the passion we both have around this is it's bringing back the human element to the workplace. Because I'll tell you this, if you really realize that you're dealing with knowledge workers, but you try to coordinate and control them, you dehumanize them. I want you to think about that for a minute. You dehumanize them. So when you dehumanize your workforce, your most valuable asset, what quality do you get from it? How much innovation do we get from them? If every time we find a better way of writing this paragraph, you say that's called rework, you should have done it right the first time. Are these common behaviors? So, for many of us, this is way too much uncertainty. Okay, I like what you're saying, but have you lived in my world? Yes, it is the same world we all live in. So this amount of uncertainty is, for most of us, unbearable. And it is human nature to try and reduce this uncertainty. So this is called the cone of uncertainty. And it says at the beginning of any project, the level of uncertainty and variability can go anywhere between 4x to 0.25x, meaning if you give me an estimate of 100 days, the reality is it's anywhere between 25 to 400. So my question here is to all of us, and this is where Agile really comes in, is how do we handle this uncertainty? What is our mindset towards managing this uncertainty? What is our established set of attitudes and habit? What is our default sort of muscle memory tendency when it comes to uncertainty? What is it? And this is where the mindset comes in. So, building off of the work of Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University, she wrote the book called Mindset. Highly advise the book. All right? But here's the essence of it. We have one of two mindsets around different topics. Meaning, depending on the topic, let's say we're talking about talent or my ability to sing. All right? So, my talent of singing. I can have either a fixed mindset about that, meaning I can believe inside of me that that ability is static and cannot change. It doesn't matter how much effort I put into it, it's a God-given gift or not in my case. Or I can believe that that ability or talent can grow if I put more effort and train and put all the time and effort necessary. If I don't believe it can change, then I have a fixed mindset. If I believe it can change, I have a growth mindset. Now, the interesting thing Dr. Dweck talks about is people have growth or fixed mindsets about different things. So I may believe that my personality can change, but I don't believe my intellectual, my IQ, can change. So therefore, I have a fixed mindset about my IQ and a growth mindset about my personality. Does this make sense, everyone? Now, here's where it gets interesting. So what? Fixed, growth, whatever you want to call it. No, well, there's actually a very interesting pattern here. Whether it's fixed mindset or growth mindset, both want to succeed. And both will succeed sometimes, but it depends on how. For the fixed mindset, here's what they do. They try to look good and avoid challenges. If I believe that what I have is what I have and I can't change it, in order to succeed, I need to look good. I need to demonstrate that ability because I can't develop it. All I can do is demonstrate it.